Can you believe it? Me, pregnant. It's a girl, and I owe it all to Dr. Mao. Or as we call him, Dr. Wow. Acupuncturist slash miracle worker. Seriously, I couldn't take it anymore with the IUIs and the IVFs and the I give up. Anyway, then I go to this guy and poof, I'm with child.
Just from going to acupuncture?
I don't know how the hell it works, but this guy could get a cactus pregnant.
A cactus pregnant, but just like Charlotte from Sex and the City, women who are determined to get pregnant will try anything and everything, and oh, the options, they are changing. So getting pregnant these days can be a threesome. That's right, it's a great collaboration between you, your partner, and your doctor. So that's why we brought Dr. Randall Dunn here to help us sift through some of those newer fertility options. So also joining us is one of his patients, Leslie Murphy. Thank you all for being here today. Talented kids. Now, how do we have some of those talented kids? Now, what is the newest and the latest? And first of all, I also want to, congratulate Leslie for being here, because you just showed me the two most beautiful kids that you could basically say thank you to Dr. Dunn for. Right there. They're twins, and it's their birthday. Wave. Hey, guys. How are you doing? They're so cute. Their dad over there. She just waved at me. You missed it. So first of all, tell me how Leslie came to you, and then and how you basically got those two beautiful kids.
Well, Leslie works in a hospital near our area, so she had heard about us for a while, and then she had tried other treatments, and then that's why she made her own referral back to see us.
And Leslie, how was that? What were the trials and tribulations of your pregnancies and trying to get pregnant? And
I think everyone thinks that when they start trying, it's just magically going to happen right away. And the first time we had to do three rounds of IVF, and which I guess Dr. Dunn will talk about in a little bit. But it's a struggle. It really is. And there are a lot of things that make it a little bit easier, which is having a support group and a supportive family, and wonderful physician and staff. But it's worth the wait, obviously, as you can see. But
they definitely are cute, and congratulations on that. But let's talk about IVF then, because you got twins from IVF. But a lot of times IVF used to, in the old school, we're talking about the new ways, you could get quadruplets, triplets, you could get a lot more than you bargained for. You went in for one and you got two, and then you get three. And so what are some of the new options though with IVF now?
Well, one of the best things that's happened is what we call extended culture. It's just to allow the embryos to grow longer in the laboratory. In a sense, they kind of self-select themselves. They tell you which ones are doing best. And then by waiting a little bit longer to what we call day 5 or the blastocyst stage, which interestingly is the same number of days it would take for an embryo to get down the fallopian tube normally to get to the uterus anyway. So it's not really longer than what's happening in nature. It's just that it's all happening in the laboratory. And by extending that culture, we can put fewer back at a time and still get the same number of women pregnant. So that's been a huge addition to what we do. And
you also were telling me back in the green room that because of some of the science, you can also find embryos that are predisposed for certain genetic disorders, and instead pick the ones that like Parkinson's or all of these other types of diseases that will be healthy embryos. That's right. That's been a major advantage. When the embryo has been growing about 3 days, you can take one cell away, which doesn't hurt the embryo, and you can check it for genetic diseases like you mentioned cystic fibrosis, things like that, thalassemia, Tay-Sachs disease, but you can also check them in some cases for genetic problems like Down syndrome and things like that. So before the embryos are ever put back, the women have less risk for genetic problems in their pregnancy. So if 1 in 6 couples are having problems getting pregnant, let's talk about these embryos that are then left over. If you take out, let's say, you have 10 embryos from a 30-year-old woman, and then she ends up getting pregnant. Let's say Leslie ends up getting pregnant and having twins. She has 9 more embryos left, then that she could freeze and use them later if she wants to get pregnant again. But then there's also something controversial that a lot of people are talking about nowadays, and that's adopting. If Leslie chooses to let the rest of her embryos be up for adoption, you can actually adopt those embryos and then put them in another woman, basically, and then she can have one of Leslie's embryos if she can't have an egg or a fertilized egg herself. That's right. I mean, a lot of couples are aware that there's something called sperm donation or egg donation, but embryo adoption is one of the newest options for couples to use the extra embryos that other couples have.
Most of the time, that's a pretty tough decision for the couples to make. And they don't make it usually just because they have one successful pregnancy. They wait a while, and after time, they've thought about it, and they've decided that's going to be the best thing to do. And so we can help facilitate that adoption process through other infertile couples. And there are national agencies now that do that very well as well.
Speaking of waiting a while, and you just told me about this, this is actually fascinating, that if you, let's say, okay, I'm 30, and I decide that I want to wait, and I don't, you know, I'm so busy working that I haven't decided to have kids yet, so I decide to save one of my eggs, or a few of my eggs, actually you said 100 I would have to save to end up, you actually had the first baby born from a woman who had been in that type of scenario, who saved her egg, not her embryo, not a fertilized egg, but an egg that then she then had fertilized later in life. Like when I turned 40, let's say, I decide I want to have kids, but I've saved my eggs. So I get married and I have a husband and we decide, hey, let's take one of my 30-year-old eggs and let's fertilize that. And you actually had a baby born just recently, the first baby in Texas.
Yeah, we didn't, the baby hadn't been born yet. The woman is pregnant. Oh. But it is a very exciting idea because the option for women to kind of extend their reproductive life is that they can go through IVF procedures when they're maybe not married, not ready to have a child, save their unfertilized eggs, and then hopefully they get the right partner later, and then they decide to thaw them out. The problem is an egg is a very complex little cell before it's fertilized. Yes, just like all women. And you have to wait a while to see how many of those are actually going to be good when you thaw them out. And then when you fertilize them, then they can potentially be healthy embryos, and it won't increase the risk for birth defects or anything because you waited to fertilize the egg till later.
It just decreases the your amount of opportunity. So,
that's correct.
But anyway, congratulations, Leslie, too, on your two beautiful twins. They are, and happy birthday to you all out there. Okay, stick with us. They're so adorable. Because coming up, we're going to have more from Dr. Dunn on fertility, plus a controversial new option that is making many women ask, how far is too far if you want to have kids? We'll be right back.